that just set him to drip Bulin for salvation. This is the time for Yeti, who had a very, very poor game against Dark Zero, going 1-9 on those entry operators, to bring it back on Oregon. He's starting on the defense as well. He doesn't even have to worry about acquiring map control for a few more rounds, but he does have to worry about the formidable opponent that is SSG. For these op bans to start out, of course, Mirage will ban out the Ying immediately. I will say that could end up biting them if they don't have their coordination on lock and their attacks still look as disjointed as they were on Skyscraper. A Ying actually might be good to solve some of those issues we saw earlier.
So not going to be in the cards this time, of course, with her being banned out. Then we move to the tail end of it. The final two bans coming in on the defensive side of things. SSG's choice is to knock out Valkyrie. This camera is still incredibly useful, even on a map like this one as well. And Valkyrie's, once again, just a kind of a comfort pick for a lot of players. So knocks that out of the way, removes that option from play. And Azami is going to be the second of that 3-operator triangle that you mentioned previously. That doesn't mean that Solus is going to be left in play this time, though.
Of course, from Mirage, that might be able to level the playing field for them against the SSG attack. Of course, defense is already the favorite side on Oregon, especially for that basement site starting out, so they might not even need the Solus necessarily. But when you get to that tertiary site, when you've got to defend that top floor, extend a little bit beyond the outer reaches of the bomb site, having a Solus to deny some of that intel could be very useful. And after all, with that, again, the two legs of the triangle gone, all you have left is that Solus or some other options. In this case, we have the Mira, who used to be one of those operators you'd immediately think, who are the defensive permabans? It'd be Valkyrie, and it'd be Mira. Obviously, she doesn't share that same fate anymore, but DP Fire will make use of her on Oregon. Normally see it inside that small closet, able to watch the front laundry side, and the second one could be a little bit more flexible, maybe putting on that freezer wall, put it wherever you really feel like it, because that's the thing with basement. You can have all the operators you want, all the utility, but when in all reality, everyone's just going to sit on the side anyway.
Pretty straightforward setup here for Mirage, where everything is said and done. Usual amount of delay utility as well as site setup utility coming in here for Mirage. Most notably going to be looking at those Goyo canisters to slow things down when SSG are ready to move themselves downstairs. And of course, we have the Capcan EDDs as well. They're going to look to cause some trouble if SSG gets strapped for time.
Of course, we talked a lot about the defense, but SSG, he got forced on the blitz. He's got the shield. He might be sending it in momentarily. Kansan and Yeti both looking towards that front door. There's only one man. E1D goes out, the door opened up. Will there be a blitz rush momentarily? I don't know, but I'm seeing a lot of people over by bunker.
Looking like the case here, but we're going to see Ramp able to fend off some of the initial pressure working its way in. The blitz immediately decked down to the ground, unfortunately, by members of defense here, so they'll take care of that problem a bit prematurely, and that will obviously kill any rushed play we were going to see from SSG. Yeah, just not working out there for Forrest, so cancel that one real quick and try to form themselves up for a much more normal take from the first floor, would be my guess.
Hope they're still under warranty, unfortunately, because this has really messed everything up.
Might want to try to make use of that return policy if you have it.
Did they do by mail? Have to drop it off? I'm not sure.
It's a rebate.
Still got 2 minutes, though. It's not all doom and gloom. I mean, you lose that blitz. Always very aggressive operator. Can always throw the defense off guard, but not bringing a lot of super important utility beyond the immediate confines of that strategy. You still have the Thatcher. You still have the Hibana. You also still have those 2 frag grenades in Merc's back pocket. Of course, Merc also, in that game earlier against Sonics, the definitive entry, taking 10 of the 15 entry engagements in that match. Not necessarily won or lost, but still taking 2/3 of all of the entry duels right there. He's looking for Pillar, and well, he's shut down as well.
So far, a great hold from Mirage here, and it's going to continue to be the case. The third kill is found from Rampy's POV. Down to just Fultz and Houghton now as the final 2 up and rolling for SSG. 1 kill is going to be picked up from the SSG camp. However, Houghton is immediately going to be traded as he tries to move forward past EDDs and pays the ultimate price for that. Fultz now inside of a 1v4. Pretty much infinite time to play this out, but as you can see here, just check at every single angle, playing with essentially 0 intel. Case down on the ground as well. Here's the tape rips. That's immediately going to cause him to turn tail here. There's the EMP into hopefully counter out any utility that is lurking around the corner. Once again, not wanting to get distracted by things like EDDs, on the door frames and whatnot, but still, it is too much to ask of our final player from SSG. So a statement made once again in the first round here by Mirage as they take definitive control, especially with the immediate denial of SSG's strategy in the first few seconds.
Yeah, and I want to give Mirage some credit, especially for dealing with that rush so early on, not falling to the blitz and, well, frankly, just breaking all of that momentum extremely quickly. And after that, it's fairly easy round to wrap up. SSG are forced to rotate, forced to go about the normal plan, then once the Merc on back stairs falls as well, it's really difficult to bring back after that. But of course, that was Oregon basement. If you're going to win one on Oregon defense, that's the one. That's the one you're going to win.
Spicy one from Mirage, though, in terms of the fact they go for their first floor hold on the second round. So this is a confidence play if I've ever seen one. Let's see how this panned out for them.
You know what? I have to give them this, having the confidence to go to that tertiary site second after being 7-2'd by Dark Zero earlier. I gotta give them that one.
The fact that they went to Skyscraper as well, I think the Death mentioned this too, the fact that they went to Skyscraper for that first map as well, could potentially mean they've got a little bit more in the pocket for what I would assume to be a safer map like this one here on Oregon.
That is true. That is actually a really good point, because you can always fall back, even though on this tertiary site, it's just so much more played out than Skyscraper. Though, they're doing some interesting things. You see that castle barricades brought by Yeti, but still keeping some of the normalcy we'd expect, as it being a meeting and kitchen hold. You're gonna have to control top floor a little bit. Gonna have to contest that attic, especially if SSG go for a stage plant. They don't have the Oso, which is a big indicator of that, but Janano is on the Amaru, and that also usually indicates that SSG might be trying to take some very quick back tower control.
SSG, of course, failing so far in their initial strategies where they attempted to play things out a little bit quickly, but now going to hold themselves back a little bit more. Mirage continuing to wait down the time as well. We're still, of course, very early days in the round here. SSG still with a very big checklist of things to work on. And Mirage still with plenty of play potential inside of the early round here. DP Fire is going to head down to the basement to try to rotate over a little bit. Phone call comes out, reveals some of this early extension to SSG on audio cues. Follow through is good as well. J90 finds the opening kill against Surf, takes down the Capcan. Utility loss is minimal, but they can knock out the Frost as well. It's going to be very much the same thing, but nice find, however, as Rampy trades one back, knocks out Houghton instead, and safely makes it back down the hatch to retreat. DP Fire dashes up White Stairs to also find a second follow-through now to put his team in front of the situation.
This is where things are starting to get interesting for Mirage. They lose the opening pick, but things get a little disjointed for SSG. Rampy's still on that top floor, and they come away with not just one, but two kills, one of them being the main source of hard destruction. Janano, of course, still has that can opener, but the important thing is that 2 rounds in a row now, and this time much more dramatically and much more importantly, they fended off the initial incursion from SSG, and while the attack has that top floor, they've come away bruised and damaged. Mirage still also have the element of surprise. You see DP Fire and Rampy both down below. Force taken down as well. Yeti unnoticed in Garage. Winning basement's one thing, but winning that tertiary site after you forego dorms, I'd be impressed.
Let's see now as SSG try to piece themselves back together with the final minute still to be played out. Mirage looking to be in promising shape to take control of this tertiary site, which will be a big surprise, of course, to SSG. And Mirage will be all that much more happier to take it for themselves. There we go, pretty much sealed the deal already as Fultz completely boxed out of the site. Reads this rotate very easily as DP Fire is caught out, but runs through a single EDD on his way forward into Kitchen, which primes about to be quickly taken down by the player holding the connector here as we see on the replay one final time.
Again, basement, you know, for an Oregon defense, we can just put that one in the defense column right at the beginning of the match, almost essentially half the time. But, John, they go to the tertiary site as the second round.
They dunk it.
And then I couldn't have said it better myself. Slam dunk. Nothing but net on that. If anything, losing Surf helped them because they were so focused on clearing out that cap can. Rampy goes unnoticed and is then able to win the fight, and the team overall makes it a 4v3 despite SSG rapidly taking control of that top floor. And now they can go to dorms, the site they are more likely to win, and potentially get themselves a 3-0 half, and with basement opening up after that, could be a 4-0 in the making. And after a very large loss earlier against Dark Zero, I get it's Oregon defense, but that is a lead nobody can discount if they get it.
Absolutely going to put themselves on a much more respectable footing. Just going to follow this one through. The 2-0 lead, potentially 3-0 if they can take control of this one. Almost certainly potentially force a very early pause out of SSG as well to figure out just what they need to change up here to finally get the better of Mirage. Like we said before, closing 2-7 earlier on in the day to the Dark Zero roster. Away from that, though, we've got both of our teams spawned out now as SSG is locked in. Not really any change-ups coming in for their lineup, and no really huge surprise, except for the Doc, of course, coming in for Mirage on the defensive side either.
Mirage has been playing very aggressively on these Oregon defenses, especially in that last run. So if you want to put DP fire on that dock, contest some long angles early, having those injections, the ability to heal yourself will be more than welcome for DP fire. And especially for Kansan as well, playing behind the shield, basically a magnet, no pun intended, for nades, having the ability to revive Kansan if he goes down and maybe even pick him, well, pick it back up and get into safety as well. The dock can be very useful. It also helps that he has a very good gun at that. SSG, of course, they're not starting things off really breaking away from the trends. They'll get attic control initially, they have the can openers for that, and they can have the Selma charges to open up the bedroom wall. This is basically how people have been attacking dorms on Oregon since the map was first reworked.
Basic definition of a default here coming out from SSG, and with good reason behind it too, given how aggressively and how successfully the aggression has been played out by Mirage. They want to try to keep their distance from the team and give them as few opportunities to work positions like this being deployed by Yeti right now as possible. Yeti, no, look at this, walking right up, it's 2 for free after Merc picked up the first. Jade, I know, going to try to force himself to the inside now, but as you'll notice, the case went down over an attic. These kills being picked up, they don't matter if they can't get back that attic control. However, they do still find a respectable amount of those trades to bring it back down to an even 2v2.
But Hot and Cold trapped outside a big window right now, but Rampy rotates in front of him. My boy was trapped, an Aruni gate separating him and his teammate, and he somehow brought it back. But none of that might even matter.
This is going to be a very awkward final minute and 20 seconds now, as the Yeti locking himself upstairs to try and maintain the case control while 2 players try to push him out.
This is almost like chess. I don't think I've ever seen this position before. I don't think I've seen this happen. The first nade misses. That's Fultz's last one, but Hot and Cold still has 2. I mean, he's got to get pinched here, right?
That's what you would assume, but once again, Yeti trying to play this out. He chose to go up here, assuming that he might be able to win it. As you said, though, you were right. The pinch comes in, but Yeti, unfortunately, is pretty much powerless to stop it. Tries to play it up to the best of his own capability, but sets himself up for his own demise, it seems, as the round goes to SSG.
I mean, great flank by Yeti. You can't take that away from him, but SSG not actively watching a drone T1. Little bit of an oversight right there, especially if you're going for that split push. That's a very common position to get flanked, a very accessible stairwell for the defense, and seemingly, even if they had a drone on it, that bit of intel slips by. But I really have to applaud the decision-making by Fultz. As it enters the 3v5, Fultz does not get scared. He immediately sends it through that open part of the bedroom wall, and SSG, the remaining members, all move around him as well, and that brings it from a 3v5 to a 3v2. Really have to applaud that individual decision-making in a split second, because that is what started that pinch at the end of the round and what got them their first attack.
And a good catch the fact that that was even open as well. Usually you're going to end up having a defender with pretty active control over that opening, if not outright playing it actively and then falling back and then deploying the wall in the middle of the round, as we sometimes often see there as well. So a nice catch from SSG and a bit of a mistake made in the positioning from Mirage to potentially allow SSG to come back into that round there.
5 seconds left.
Now they get to go back to basement. They do unfortunately drop, or Mirage unfortunately drop dorms, but they got to go back to that safe haven for the defense. SSG bringing those same attacking ops we've seen so far. They're keeping it standard for the majority of these attacks, specifically for basement and dorms. They've got the Thatcher, they've got the Hibana for those hatches, and specifically the Ace if they want to open up any of those walls, whether it be to Harry Potter or somewhere else. But an interesting setup from Mirage. We've seen teams hold meeting, but Yeti has a shield looking at main door with Ella, an operator that we're likely going to see a lot more of, at least compared to her previous play rate, because of the changes in that compensator and how lethal that Scorpion can be. For Mirage right now, they are heavily focused on holding this middle floor for as long as they can.
So we're doing a pretty good job of that, denying a lot of the drone intel working itself in as well, as they're taking out 3 of those already, but still about 5 or so active and out on the map. SSG still with plenty to utilize. 7 total still to be drawn out. Merc claims the first kill of the round overall. Kansan is going to end up getting caught as a result of that one. No trades coming in. In fact, another kill. 2 more found just by J9O as well here. He takes up with DP fire. There's another member of the Mirage roster here, just not ready to hold this one off. So obviously, full fallback has been called for the Mirage roster. Upstairs Soul just not maintaining its presence anywhere near the length they would have hoped for it to be. And now they're really going to be reliant on these Goyo canisters and, of course, their own capability to delay things out. As you look to surf there, thankfully still has the 3 Toxic Babes, but we still have a minute and a half to play out as well. So this is a tough one, to say the least, for Mirage.
And that's what I was going to get to. Basement is great, but It's not that great.
Yeah.
We're gonna need to require either some miraculous gunfight wins for Mirage or SSG slipping up and making a couple mistakes. There's one solo engagement as Hot and Cold runs in, downed by Surf, almost gets a second, but a very quick cleanup by SSG in a very important round, winning out that basement. As I mentioned, what is so often an easy pickup for the defense, now it's all tied up, and SSG have really thrown Mirage's plans out of whack.
Mirage is getting a little bit too front and forward there. SSG able to apparently read into those positions very early on in the round and counter them out with no response coming in for the defense. There's double, if not tripling down on that one as they lose all of their presence within the first minute or so of play and leave it all on the site players to try and win things out. Bit of a futile effort, of course, as we saw. Tried their best to hold it back, but it really only took about 10 seconds or so for SSG to drop in and take out those final two players.
But I do want to give it to Mirage real quick because they are playing aggressive, and given that this is a new team, not new players, but still a new team who's playing together, the fact that they aren't being daunted by that early loss and not being daunted by sometimes what Oregon can lean into being a slower style of play, a more bunker style of play, and they are trying to get in SSG's face, who historically before this new roster, if you were able to get in their face, you really could throw things out of whack. I got to give credit where credit is due to Mirage in that they're trying that. Now, they're not taking this tack timeout as well and not taking these defensive wins for granted, trying to make sure they can pick up these two and get that 4-2 half on Oregon you are looking for. And as you can see, they'll go back down to basement to try to recapture some of that magic from round one. And even though I did just say that I admired the aggressive play, like you said, and you pointed out, SSG read into it very quickly. Perhaps, maybe with some different gadgets, we'll shift things around a little bit.
They're going to cool off a little bit more, play into a more traditional, maybe not full-on bunker setup coming in here for Mirage. That's just going to give way too much early map control over to SSG and kind of remove some of the power that Mirage have as a roster overall.
That's boring. Come on, I mean,
true.
We're on BO1 number 6. Let's switch things up a little bit. We all know it's Oregon, it's slow. Let's get a little aggressive, come on.
If they'll deploy themselves toward the Capcan's certainly going to be out and about here just to set himself up. Kansan will proceed upstairs, rest of the team will try to set themselves up around that kitchen area a little bit as well and maintain those positions. Reinforcement actually going down on top of it also, so maybe pulling things back just a little bit more passively.
Still see some players, but no shield inside of split, which I appreciate. No need to deal with that, but still deny some of that control from Space Station. But unfortunately, talk about SSG reading into things. There's only one player in bunker right now. There's a Rooney gate in SSG's way. Have to use a nade to burn it. That might give Mirage an idea that they're pushing this way. So if SSG wanted to take control of bunker quickly, they're likely going to have to fall off now. And as you can see, yes, they will back out, not able to acquire that early control, but still able to open a very useful angle into pillar within 30 seconds.
We're not going to see at least one player return to that position later on in the round when the rest of SSG is actually ready for the execute. So the work done there is, of course, not for nothing. As we're even seeing a few players from Mirage be distracted by that still too, as they're certainly expecting something to come through that avenue sooner rather than later. Of course, first kill was found by SSG, knocking out Rampy over on the first floor, so he's going to be taken down. And we'll once again give SSG the opening initiation advantage. Mirage has cooled off. It's seemingly all of their aggressive positions after losing that player, not wanting to have the same results from last round echo out again here on round 5.
Backing off very quick, we will see that normal bunker style of play. And with meeting hatch open, which can often be the most important hatch on this, because you usually get the meeting hatch open, then maybe you get security, maybe you get front, but usually meeting hatch is the one that teams consistently get. And that's the control given very freely with no need to open it up with hard breaching because it was open for that rotation. Now Jane and O can start putting pressure into Harry Potter. We've seen Merc, like in round number 1, struggle with this position to win that fight inside a pillar, but with the man advantage, and still 2 nades overall for the attack, but only 1 focused on that side. They have the utility and they have the ability to trade out any deaths that they suffer for Mirage. And all of that, John, was still 1 minute and 15 seconds, and now a 5v3.
I see it on once again here from SSG to quickly take control. More importantly, work the picks on an individual basis here. Make sure that they have the overwhelming force before committing themselves to the inside. Nicely played here by DP Fire. Working with Kansan, they get the first trade back against the members of SSG. 2 more of them also going to go down, but yet to be confirmed. J9O now trades one back against Mirage to get all the Surf. He's got a virtual 1v2 sitting in front of him, but it looks like one of those players potentially getting brought back up for SSG. Not so much the case, though, as it's a laser focus on just knocking out Surf and ending this round quickly instead of bringing up a 3rd or even 4th member of SSG into this fight. However, I think now that things have slowed down a bit, yeah, J9O is going to back up. Forrest as well in a safe position to be revived, so they won't waste that opportunity. They'll bring him back. Merc, of course, completely gone due to his position. There was no way he was getting out of this one alive.
Now you can almost use Forrest as a target dummy with 1 bullet away from death. play his contact, bait him, to try to finish off Surf. One will go for the peek, and there, the simultaneous push through the rotate and up long haul will be Surf's undoing. Basement, what we earlier said was a safe haven, of course, John. Why did we do that? Why did we do that to Mirage? Because they've now lost it 2 times in a row, and SSG have guaranteed themselves at a bare minimum an even half on Oregon. A lovely place to be for any attacking team, no matter the experience level.
For at least a second there as well, Mirage were flirting with potentially going down to it for a 3rd time, but they do change the vote up, and they're going to end up on their tertiary site. Obviously, the only other site they've been able to win so far inside of this half, and try to take control of that one for a 2nd time to still give them a winnable scoreline here as they get ready to switch sides and head into the 2nd half on the next round.
Seen this Mozzie pick rate tick up a little bit with the introduction of Brava, and I think also, even if Brava isn't played, I think people forgot that, oh wait, Mozzie's pretty good. Because we saw a really low dip in Mozzie's pick rate, and people were like, oh wait, this guy's actually pretty good. Got a good gun, great primary utility, and a C4 as well. Why not bring him and stick Kansan on him? We've got excellent gun skill. And it is also kind of funny that this is the only site that now has a completely positive win rate for Mirage, considering this is the tertiary site, and they've gone to basement 3 times, and dorms once. But such is the way the cookie crumbles in this case. Kansan will likely be around that top floor, joining alongside maybe Rampy and Surf like we saw last time. Sticking with the cap can, the latter is as well. But Mirage have really been trying to make this aggressive play work in the past couple rounds, and it has not had the same shine as it had in the first 2 rounds. And I think SSG, likely feeling the confidence on that, will also not change things up because their clears have gotten better and better, and Mirage have not had an answer.
Nice rebound victory from Mirage, and they played to this site the previous time as well. Lost that initial entry, then had a great flank up White Stairs alongside of a good hold inside of the dorms, of course, coming out there from Rampy back on the previous play. And ended up putting them in the winning position. Everything was said and done. Hot and Cold gonna try to walk his way into the upstairs extension, but Surf and the rest of Mirage more than ready to fend that one off. Even with the utility being used there for Hot and Cold, he is read like a book and goes down incredibly fast.
But Merc hops in a big window immediately after a flash for both Fultz and J90 to push on in, but nobody biting from Mirage. Talked about the aggression, talked about the patience right now, as nobody taking an unnecessary 1v1, but Fultz picks up 2 kills, and now the advantage goes back to Space Station's way. DP Fire also on 1 HP. If somebody just fires a bullet through the floor at this point, this could be, well, now a 3v3. Merc may be walking into a cap can, but no, a C4 instead. A 2K for Kansan, bringing the Mozzie and bringing the round back for Mirage.
Mirage excellently done here. Bit of a rough fight trying to maintain 2nd floor control. Looked like that was going to be the beginning of the end for SSG there at the start of the round, but no. Mirage hold themselves back, use that utility. SSG unfortunately committing far too many players to that upstairs clear. They get jumbled up, and a double kill is found on the Nitro cell. Suddenly the tables have turned yet again, and it's now Mirage controlling this situation, but only by a 1-player advantage at this point, so still somewhat workable for SSG. They're going to call for a full reset, though, and actually work themselves in from the basement for at least Forest to try and make this work.
And they still have 1 minute and 10 seconds left. They found a player isolated on back tower stairs and want to try to bring the man advantage back to a 2v2. Because of how much time they have remaining, this is a strategy available to them, and if it works, they have his cutoff, they have a nade to use as well. They would still have plenty of time left and an equal man count. Yeti will throw a C4. He's got the shotgun as well. With only 1 player pushing this, he can win this fight and potentially win the round. And there we go. Diffuser dropped as well. J90 thinking the passive angle will work, but that's still a 1v1, and against a shotgun close quarters, J90 will try to make magic happen, but Yeti with a 2-piece makes it an even half for Mirage.
Yeti gets it done instead with a beautiful hold here just by the outside entrance door as well to the big tower. Claims it all for Mirage and locks us into a 3-3 scoreline heading into the 2nd half. SSG with quite a few dominant rounds, but not enough to take the outright lead at halftimes. It's still Mirage with a few of their own and one final one at the tail end of the half to claim just as many as we saw from SSG.
That 3-3 half, if you're starting on attack, that is what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for to get a leg up on your opponents. And it was those attacks from Mirage that were oh so troublesome in the previous game against Dark Zero. And now you got to do it on Oregon. Skyscraper is a difficult beast to attack, don't get me wrong, but Oregon, despite its long tenure in the map pool, remains as difficult at times, especially on this basement site. I doubt SSG will hold on to that top floor as aggressively as Mirage did early on in the half, but given the new look this team has given us so far, even if it maybe doesn't end up working out, wait. Sorry, I didn't actually realize that Fultz was placing a mirror window looking into Trophy.
10 seconds left.
I didn't expect this.
Basement hold.
I honestly don't have words right now.
5 seconds left.
I didn't think they'd get that aggressive. I mean, second floor, Mira,
Attackers are
on a
moving out to
basement
locate a
site?
bomb and defuse it.
Hello?
What do they know?
They know something. I mean,
know
I'm
something.
not going to question them. You kidding?
Not yet.
No, not yet.
It's only when it goes bad that we question it. Immediately though, Rampy's gonna hop right into T3 here and take some control for himself and the rest of his team. Not gonna find any opponents on the inside of this one. It is open for the taking. Or the reason why he moves into it so haphazardly, but actually upon correction, it looks like Merc is in the area here. So Rampy potentially still gonna have an opportunity to take him down. It looks like Merc is able to dash away from that one though. Using the active ability coming out from the Oryx, gets himself a little bit lower, safer pastures here as well, where he can play this fight out and just waste more time for Mirage is clear.
Active drone on the alibi inside a small tower. 2 players over there as well, but not in a position yet to pinch her out. This alibi is now, she can waste time. She can just sit here for a little bit. They've got the Z ping, sure. Mirage can try and take her down, but eventually they do. J9O continuously peeks in. Well, once he keeps giving Kansan a gunfight, if Kansan just keeps shooting, odds are he's going to win it eventually. So I thought maybe we'd see a little bit more time wasted and Mirage would have to get into position, but Kansan still wins the fight. Sure, not a lot of important active utility in J9O's hands, but that's the advantage they were looking for, and now they can press on forward. One more inside of Kitchen as well, with not an easy avenue to rotate out of. Gotta be careful, because Mirage are looking to make this a 5v3.
A little bit of pinch pressure coming back out still from SSG. We can see one committing themselves to it there. Merc from the top end of the freezer stairs. He will recommit now on a second peek. Claims the kill, but goes a bit too deep into it here. DP Fire gets the trade back against it. We still have Houghton, of course, playing on the inside of freezer. Forrest as well tries to swing. They don't pay the price for it. Goes down to Rampy. But we did see Houghton Cold successfully retreat down the freezer hatch.
That aggressive play not working out. Mirage able to successfully read into it. And again, so much time left. This was the problem that Mirage faced on their basement defenses in the previous half. They play aggressively but not waste enough time. And now you give the attack a whole minute and change to figure out their own plan. They've got security hatch open. They've got big tower control. Sure, Fultz has a C4, and only now is E-Box hatch starting to be pressured. But so much time is on the attack side. SSG are relying on Mirage, even if it's a small one, to make a mistake and let something slip through. Fultz and Hot and Cold are both talented players, but they'll need some help from Mirage if they want to win their first defense.
Does Mirage have the confidence to swing themselves into this one and shut it down outright? Looking like a big yes so far. Surf immediately knocks out Fultz, leaving it all on Hot, who is defending the back flank, already losing the rotate for Laundry as well. Gets a quick peek to take out the first freezer player, a second one as well. Now the plant was going down. It's been interrupted, obviously. Suddenly things have been brought down to a 1v2. This is very winnable for Hot and Cold. Now that he's brought it down to this point. Plan attempt yet again. He's got an individual duel here, but the angle from Rampy is good enough to win it out there, as Mirage is able to stabilize and take the lead.
And that's the bane of losing so many of your roamers early on and not wasting enough time, because Mirage we were getting into troll territory. Not even gonna lie to you. We see somebody in freezer swinging. 2 1v1s. Oh no, Demo's gonna do a telestration all about how terrible that play was. I can see the future. I can see the furthest ends of my imagination, but it stopped. Do you wanna know why? Because they took out 3 roamers early on, had a minute and 40 seconds, and they have bodies to spare. Because even though they lose 2 extraneous players, they still have 1 to cover the plant, and Hot and Cold does not have the control necessary. So SSG going back to basement. I'm looking at this lineup, and I'm seeing 3 armors, and a Jaeger and a Wamai. Yeah, they're not moving up any stairwell in this round.
SSG gonna lock themselves into the basement, play full bunker hold more than likely for this round. It's certainly looking like the case for them. They're setting themselves up at the moment here. Few dirty peeks potentially coming in from the freezer stairs or an area like that. Might play onto the inside of security, something like that, but as you said, more than likely just gonna stick it all into the basement. They need to lock this site in and move themselves forward onto the other 2 here if they want any hope of closing out on this game and not dropping their second match of the day here to Mirage, who, like I said before, has had a very interesting story so far here, struggling to contend earlier in the day against DZ on Skyscraper. Now, certainly bringing the heat to SSG as they go to a map where they're much more comfortable on.
They'll have to cut their teeth on a different defense for this map as well. No longer will there be people on that second or that first floor who are ready to be picked off and ready to be received as an opening pick in Mirage's column. Now, they will have that free map control, and that's certainly something that they'll be happy about. They don't need to worry about clearing someone out of security too much, though there are some players aggressing just a little bit inside of back tower and inside of freezer, though they will fall off in likely about 10 seconds or so. So Mirage will have that control for the entirety of the first half of the round, but that means you'll have to deal with those 5 players eventually, and with those 4 nades and those EMPs, they'll need a lot of utility and some very well-placed EMPs or flashbangs to deal with the ADSs and the magnets in the late round. So right now, it will be a bit of a slow game, but it'll be very quick developing in the final half of the round.
Mirage is setting up kill box positions here if SSG try to swing themselves out aggressively, but as we've been talking about in the earlier portion of the round there, SSG not trying to play towards aggression in this round in any sense of the word. Holding themselves back towards it here. We're going to see the team start to open things up. Comes the hack play, work themselves down into the basement. The beginning of the descent here for our Mirage roster now. Still a ways off, of course, with so much presence being stabilized by SSG downstairs, the full 5-man roster, of course, but it is going to need to start very early here because of that fact.
The one X factor, well, there are two X factors, one of them being the Dokey calls, but we all know what those do. The one interesting X factor alongside that is the Kludge drone. What could it do? Well, they're dead, so nothing really. I was going to say that, oh look, there's a bunker hold, and oh, that'll be so difficult to hack those drones, but the Kludge drones are dead. So you're relying on that final Dokey call to push down Freezer stairs, and they somehow win the fight against the shotgun close quarters. I guess now they have an inroad to the site.
Having Freezer control as well as Laundry, of course, gives them the path inside that they need, but the case is lost as they try to push it forward. Forrest is the one to grab it here. A big peek comes in from Forrest to claim a second kill as well, but of course, two other players standing in his way. Rampy trades out not just one, but 2 kills. Keeps his team in control of the overall player count now as it's brought to a 3v2. Merc smoked out from his position on the inside of the laundry closet. Now gonna have to try and put himself in the rotate as well. Mirage still repositioning a few of their own players due to the fact that they lost the angles on laundry. Repositions one player towards it, now commits themselves to the inside of it. They sneak back forward with a prone crawl to grab the case as well. Retrieved by Rampy, as I believe he now has the position to put it down behind that mirror window that Merc's playing behind.
J9O trapped inside a pillar as well. He's got the Freezer player to deal with and the long haul player, but there's the spray from J9O. Downs the Brav, and we're in an even 2v2. He'll take the 1v1, but oh, just barely loses it. Kansan on low HP. Merc with a beautiful flick, and a beat up opponent for him to finish off. 30 seconds left. Knows where he is now. Has the 2 angles to cover, but he'll have to bait out the diffuser and hope Kansan gives him the opportunity. He'll begin it. 3 seconds left. Now he falls off. Kansan has the advantage. He can play patiently. Merc's got to commit, and he can't win the fight. 2 rounds in a row now on attack for Mirage, and this might just be the comeback we were looking for.
Great restraint from Kansan, never over peaks and gives his opponent the angle he needs to win that one, forces him into his territory and shuts it down outright when he has to go for the wide swing on the Freezer breach there. Beautifully done as Mirage now take a definitive lead here at 5-3, 2 for 2 so far on this half, and just 2 more to go to claim the matchup and regulation as well to claim the full breadth of points and make up for the loss earlier on today.
5-3 on those attacking halves.
Defenders, protect your
On those
bombs
2
from
attacking
being
halves, I
defused
should
by
say. On
attackers.
their attacking half, sure, but 2 basements now? 2 different ways of defending it as well. I knew that maybe we were underestimating Mirage a little bit. This isn't the Mirage of last year, of ages past. But 2 basement wins in a row? In a row? We saw SSG do that. But SSG won 8-7 with Sonics. 2 of the best teams in the league right now at the start of the season. Surely Mirage, surely they can. Can they win a 3rd in a row? Can they do it? Can they get match point and force SSG to win 3 rounds in a row if they want to come back? I mean, I don't want to make a prediction. I don't like taking bets. But if they won basement twice, I mean, surely Dorms has got to be a cakewalk, right?
We're gonna have to wait and see. Certainly much less of a bunker for SSG to play themselves into this time around. They'll need to commit themselves to a few of these extensions. Mirage has had great read on the early round in both of the previous attempts for basement, so it's gonna need to be a big change-up on both the impact and overall strategy from SSG to make up the difference now, bring them back into this game.
Solus on the far side of the map, do some damage to not only Mirage's drone count, but also just be able to take down some of that early utility. And of course, Mirage will likely be fixated on it, at least for a little bit. And we'll see J9O try to get some kills. He's got Forrest as a support, as the bridge, the link between J9O and the site players to help him achieve a rotation back. You can already see as Forrest retreats, J9O follows, moves into kitchen, moves into security, where he honestly could remain and wait for a play through big window, which it appears Mirage are setting up for. 3 players now over by white stairs in small tower. And of course, J9O has a powerful position for the execute, but with 2 minutes to go, you'll likely face some bit of pressure with that door wide open and J9O all alone.
Slow wind up here for both teams. However, SSG, of course, trying to play things as passively as possible with good reason, given the results of the previous 2 rounds. They've not had a lot of success trying to directly challenge the advances from Mirage. And with that, they're going to largely walk right up to the white stairs, position themselves and set up for this clear. But of course, still a few problems to be dealt with on that first floor position, most notably, of course, on the inside of security, where J9O still maintains positioning and could cause some serious problems. However, he is off on an island to an extent. Yeti, though, just steals a kill from the depths of the site. Forrest goes down on the Jaeger from top white.
Yeti has accomplished so much right now, and I'm not just talking about the kill on the Forest, though I have no idea how the hell he got that one, but he's wasted all 3 of those toxic canisters at about a minute 30. Fultz has that 1 C4, but aside from the Solus down below, that's the only form of plant denial, and that Solus is not looking like she'll be around for very long in the remainder of this round. 2 creeping in through meeting, and Yeti still on bottom white. J9O is trapped with the wall opened in front of him, and easy pickings for Mirage. Merc will answer back just a little bit, but Mirage are primed and ready to send it through big window and white.
SSG quickly losing player count yet again for 3rd round in a row here. It's looking like it may very well happen, but the follow-through needs to be made up to the 2nd floor as well. Still only clearing things out, and of course, getting a very nice kill from Yeti's POV, baiting out the utility and taking Forrest down along with him here to make that execute just a little bit easier. Team does have to rotate away largely from that white stairs hold they were maintaining previously, though, as they need some additional angles to work the actual take. That'll put Surf outside a big window. Be a nice 2-tiered angle here. They really don't have time, unfortunately, to try to work anywhere else. It would require hard breach maneuvering to be able to get themselves into it. It's just going to try and force the issue from top white, as well as on the inside of big window. SSG may still have hope of winning this one yet. First kill claimed by them. Some great damage going on to 2 different members of the team, but Rampy picks up an exchange. Yeti with a 2nd one. Everything on Merc now, as he picks up 1 more for his own team to bring it down to a 1v2. Rampy catches his next cross, though, and locks in match point for Mirage.
What did I say? Might just be easy pickings when you have the wind in your sails. Look at how hyped that man is. Look at him. Well, I know what he's saying right now, and that man, he's not unhappy. That man is joyous right now. He is feeling the happiest anger he has ever felt because he's 6-3 right now against SSG. And if you're just now tuning in, first of all, hello. Pleasant to see you. But if you're just tuning in, SSG went 8-7 against Sonics earlier, and I think most people, if you kept up with the transfer window, those are 2 of the best looking teams in the NA right now. And Mirage are about, if they can win their 4th attack in a row, to beat them just almost as dominantly as DZ beat Mirage 2 hours ago. John, what the hell is happening?
It's a big shakeup.
What am I watching?
Big shakeup to be sure.
Big shakeup doesn't cover it.
We're watching some crazy stuff unfold, to be sure, as Mirage once again stunning all expectations here by putting a 6-3 scoreline up against SSG, who, as we talked about before, just managed to just barely win out against the OXG roster here. Here we go, though, with SSG's timeout. A little bit late here, of course, but with good reason behind it, as SSG realistically had a reason to try and play out a lot of these rounds at the beginning of the 2nd half. Just let it go a little bit too far, unfortunately, and has now put them in this really rough position where they have to hope they have come up with something new to deploy towards on what could very well be the final round of the map. And they're going to return 1 more time to the basement and try to work it as well.
Keeping the heart and soul of that 2nd basement lineup the same. Keeping the Mira, keeping the Jaeger, keeping the Wamai, but slotting in at least some new people. We see the Malusi to make sure that nobody can just send down those freezer and those laundry stairs. J9O as well on that warden, likely playing on the laundry machines to stop that very same push. It still appears to be a bunker hold for SSG, given the utility and given the operators that we've seen. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. I'm not looking to admonish it. But I am saying that Mirage won basement twice, attacking 2 different setups of the site. And sure, they're not going to give them any openings, but when they gave them all that map control, Mirage were able to use it quickly and efficiently, and then leverage opening picks inside of the site, still with a lot of time to spare.
And obviously, when we saw the aggressive stance put up by SSG, it was very much the same thing. Mirage immediately boxing out those individuals that had tried to adventure forward, and actually does look like we're going to get a little bit of that this time from SSG. Forrest,
Just a little.
Just a tad.
Just a touch.
A little Forrest and Fultz sprinkle here on the first floor, as both players push out from the top end of the freezer stairs. Not actually a whole lot of contention coming in from Mirage, though, so they're not really countering a whole lot at the moment. And of course, we still have that back stairs peek coming in from one of the members of SSG too. Freezer players do back up, though, as obviously they've spotted out not a whole lot to play out against here. So they do not want to find themselves in the awkward position of being away from the site should Mirage try to force the issue downstairs or another part of the map.
Mirage also talk about the quick map control they got earlier. Once they get it, how will they be able to get some of those picks? Well, right now they have 6 total nades, well, 6 theoretically total nades, 5 in actuality. And what that allows you to do on basement is basically get maybe a free victory. One you don't have to take via a gunfight. You need to expose yourself to maybe a warden sitting in laundry, or in this case, inside a pillar, or somebody sitting inside of the little closet watching laundry. You can use one of the now 4 remaining nades you have to short clear utility, but also maybe get a kill that you didn't need to take a gunfight for. And Mirage, with the time they were able to start moving down below earlier, will be in a good position, likely in about the next 25 seconds to make this work. And, well, it won't be 25 seconds. It'll be 5.
Nicely done here from Ramping. Open things up once again for Mirage. Nade goes in, lands right on top of Forest, take him down. One more still standing, however, for SSG, and with plenty of time to play out, still might see some hesitance from Mirage. They try to follow this one through. Members of SSG are right at the precipice of the execute point for Mirage, so as soon as they try to work themselves anywhere close to this site, they are fighting members of the defense here. Down to that final minute here now. Once more, Mirage are continuing to try and line themselves up for the play. They have all the execute utility ready to go, but they're also seemingly waiting for a member of SSG to step out here, making a mistake, and SSG is not necessarily the team to do that.
The one problem, though, with all those nades, you don't have a lot of flashes, the normal ability you need to take this pillar control. Mirage still have that man advantage, so SSG need to fight this back and get at least 2 kills to make this happen.
As he found as, oh no, the second drop comes in from DP Fire, and Jane, I know, just does not react to it. Trade comes in. Fultz holds the line, though, to trade us back down to the 2v2. Kansan and Yeti looking to make up the difference and end it here. Now the push from Kansan is successful. They take construction, and the L-Wrap beyond that one now. All falls to Fultz here on SSG, trying to clutch this one out. Needs to pick up the next 2 with 15 seconds to go. Can deny it, immediately finds one. Doesn't get Yeti on the follow-through, though. He reacts quickly enough, but Fultz as well with the spin around. Shuts it out in the 2v1. We go further into this matchup here as SSG keeps themselves alive.
Oh, the heart attack 1v2, man, I cannot take that one. They finally get a defensive victory, and finally it comes on basement. Fultz just barely saving their overtime hopes with just a few well-placed MP5 shots. And now SSG go to dorms. Already saw them play it once. And we already saw Mirage win it once with a big window and white take. But as we just saw from basement, Mirage are giving SSG a new look to try and close out this final round. Before on basement, they went for the laundry freezer side, then they went for big tower. Now on dorms, they went for a big window and white take. I'm interested to see if maybe we see that Hibana drop off and go to an ace, maybe a thermite as well, and somebody brings secondary hard breaches, and instead of going big window and white, they go master bedroom and attic to try to throw SSG off their game plan and get just the 1 round they need.
Flinches as of yet, though, on the repicks for Mirage. We'll have to see if they decide to go for that. At the moment, it's not looking like it. Full confirmation on their current strategy, the way things are currently moving. So there we go. There's the ace actually being brought back in here. They swap the Hibana out for that one, as well, with no immediate counter coming in onto the walls. He's going to leave that possibility open to do exactly as you described and execute in through Master. Throw SSG's defense off one final time to win the game.
I want to see that clutch drone have impact, but again, there's not too many. Well, I mean, we have the EDDs, sure. We've got the magnets as well and the Gurge mods, but this is what I like the clutch drone to be used for. This is what I like, the ability to get basically free flank cams, and in this case, albeit to change the subject mildly, a free opening pick. Merc taken down, getting aggressive down below. A freebie, free real estate for Mirage. Because you know what they're going to do now with this pick? The same thing they were going to do if they didn't have it.
Just follow through on this very slow and methodical execute. Yet he is having some trouble clearing things out on the bottom end here. Towards Cafeteria, though. J9 putting some nice aggression back over into Yeti's quarter and preventing an overall take of Small Tower. The team was fond of in the previous round, trying to utilize that bottom white control to move themselves forward. There's J9 getting the confirmation onto Yeti, finishing him off. And of course, with the Doc, he just boosts himself right back up to full here. Still 2 more opportunities to do that as well later on the round.
There's still a lot for Mirage to try and clear. J9 has Yeti to back him up. Or not Yeti to back him up, Yeti to deal with. Still stuck in the old SSG mode. He's got Hot and Cold to help him retreat. Oh, just see someone on that window. But he's the one that takes the majority of the damage. He's got 2 more stims, but people incoming. Forest there ready to back up. SSG are putting everything on this Showers hold, and Mirage are biting the bait.
Defense is up.
Mirage taking every single opportunity to try and knock out these players on the inside of Shower and eventually Cafeteria as well. Nice little dash comes in from Kansan to deal with one of them that re-equalizes the player count, but still a long way to go here. And finally, SSG gives up that position, falls back to a full upstairs hold now to play out the remainder of this 3v3.
You got to give credit to J9O, able to hold out for that long. Well, actually, no, don't just give credit to J9O. Give credit to J9O, Forest, and Hot and Cold. They had the play, they had the read, they saw how hard Mirage wanted to take small tower, and they shifted their focus to maybe risk a little bit, gamble a little bit, but still get aggressive and hold on to small tower, because now with this 3v3, Mirage don't have the ability to go for that split take they might have wanted to go for before. Now it has to be a big window in white, and they don't have any of those flashbangs. They don't have any of those Dokkaebi calls. They don't even have the frag grenades to maybe get a kill, and with the smoke canister still left, in 30 seconds, SSG might get their second defense in a row.
Mirage is going to be forced to execute with basically 10 seconds or less to go. That's when all avenues will be opened up as the Toxic Vapor will fade away by then. We'll see the Aces work their way in here as well. Forest already knocking down one of the players trying to push from top white. That'll be Kansan eliminated from contention here. DP Fire will take his place, and of course Surf still trying to work his own way in through the big window, but he is immediately decked as well. DP Fire, not even the confidence to swing forward, and with good reason, because we have an EDD sitting on the left side of the wall that'll just finish him off for the members of SSG.
And that's why you brought the clutch drone to stop this very thing. But of course, a lot of other things went awry. Well, actually, did they go awry? Maybe a little bit. We see a very intense focus from Mirage on small tower, constantly pushing and pushing against a brick wall that was SSG. But if you weigh them next to each other, how much was that Mirage getting tunnel vision? Definitely a good portion. Definitely a substantial portion. But it's also SSG reacting in round, seeing J9O get pushed to the extent that he is, and allocating their remaining players, which were reduced early on due to the early loss of Merc, and reallocating them accordingly. So it was certainly Mirage getting very fixated on that position, but also SSG playing alongside, playing their game, and beating them at it. Going to this tertiary site now, it'll be the hat trick for SSG if they can bring it to overtime. They'll have one basement, they'll have one dorms, and one their tertiary site, but still one more chance for Mirage to upset the team I think we all thought was going to win.
SSG, of course, still going to be able to deploy their aggression in a very similar way to how we were seeing them do on the previous round here. Can force a lot of that aggression out from the inside of areas like Showers in the Cafeteria if they want to extend themselves towards it a bit from their current site hold. We definitely see that actually not being played with too much, but there's a bit of a late setup coming forward as they'll reinforce a few of the walls and look to just stem the tide. Castle barricades blocking off the main access route to yellow as well here. So definitely some delay going to be played out as expected from the inside of Shower.
And if we're going to see the Showers hold anywhere, it's normally on one of these tertiary sites, not dorms like we saw. It's normally going to be in that position, especially on dining and kitchen, though this is meeting and kitchen. It still will be a little bit of a focus for SSG. It will also be a focus, not in actively holding necessarily, though with a deployable shield in hand, well, on the floor, no longer in hand, J9O might actually seek to hold Big Tower alongside Fultz, now climbing up into T3. This is a very ambitious play from Space Station Gaming. Two different players inside of Big Tower, both in positions that if Mirage get into their proper spots can be cleared out with one fell swoop.
I believe it's been droned out, and both players are aware of that factor too. As we saw the player up in T3, a little drone noise, at least I could hear as we swapped over to his POV. So pretty sure that this has been found out already, and you can see that Yeti keeping Overwatch on the T3 windows right now to make sure nothing goes awry if he decides to peek out from the inside of this.
Merc playing on that Shower side will likely rotate back due to the complete lack of focus from Mirage on that side. And there are one or two players. It's certainly not the active object of their intent at the moment. Though they are also now falling off a Big Tower. I thought we'd see maybe something give from SSG. Maybe they don't push J9O. That's a close fight with the shotgun. Certainly a risky play. But Fultz is up there all alone. And now, because you left him be, Rampy is off the board. They still have a hard breach. Mirage have Surf on Thermite, and they've rotated over to clear out dorms. But a minute 40 spent on Big Tower, and now even less time to clear out the upstairs.
Mirage trying to pinch their way in through Trophy, and as well using some pressure coming in from the big window. They've already made the hop, actually, it looks like, from big window side too. One player has been able to negotiate a position on the inside. Now they're going to try to swing it, see if this pinch pressure will work out, as SSG still have quite a few members off-site or nearby. As you can see, at least one of their players in the attic backing away from it now. Mirage will move in, clear out this extension on the second floor. Remember, this is only part of the puzzle. Still need to make their way downstairs, of course, in the actual hold itself. And oh no, Hot Gold stuck around, is still able to go for a 1-for-1 exchange, preserving the +1 player advantage for SSG.
Those are the kinds of mistakes and the kind of oversights that let comebacks like this happen. They let 3 rounds in a row manifest for SSG. And as you said, 4v3 now for Space Station. They can pull back down below. Mirage only have 30 seconds to make this work, and they have half of 2 different takes, but no complete version of either of them. All they have is that Dorm's control, but all of SSG's utility pointed at that kitchen drop, their only remaining option.
Another kill found here with Fultz, finding the elimination on the Surf. Yeti with the drop down as well, has the intel and the immediate frag to go out against Merc. This is a considerable amount of HP, unfortunately, due to the Toxic Baby to fall onto the inside of, but seemingly with a safe plant position, could still be able to make this work. No, J90 finds him in the final seconds of that plant, and Forrest as well quickly executes DP fire before he could potentially bring out a clutch, another attempt at that plant.
3 overtime games in a row. I have to say, one, I didn't expect that for the first play day, period, but I did not expect it for this game in particular. And again, not to be cliche, you got to give credit to both teams for being here, but specifically for SSG for holding on. And I mean, that Fultz 1v2 we saw in the second half, they might not even be here if he doesn't clutch that round. But the other 2 defenses since that quarter, I suppose, they have really been on point. Their mid-round adaptations, and in that case, their ability to just stick with the plan once they realize that Mirage are playing right into their hands. SG have played this extremely well, and they get the benefit of the defense. It was a 3-3 half. So again, like Bank, it's theoretically equal, but right now, SSG have the benefit of recency because they're the ones that just won 3 rounds in a row, not the team that just lost 3 rounds in a row.
Much the case. Now returning to the basement hold, things get a little bit dangerous here as Mirage seemingly was on a massive hot streak to take control of these SSG basement hold. However, SSG starting to piece things together towards the tail end of it. They're still able to control one of those at the end of the half as well here. So really a coin flip in terms of who is going to end up taking this one. You could say very much the same thing for the match right now, as this has been a seesaw and a half ever since we got ourselves in the second half overall.
E1D goes out extremely quickly. It won't spot any of the only few defenders moving about. See Merc move up to that top floor, and well, I was gonna say move to the first floor, and now he might move up to the top floor, but he's seen that front door open, and whether he knows it or not, there are 2 attackers just stationed to the left. But no need to get aggressive. Just back up to the top floor. You're trying to play a little bit more in their face alongside J90 on the opposite part of the map. As Mirage are looking to take things slowly, as they likely assume they can do on Oregon. J90 will take a lot of damage from that rappel. He's in a tricky position right now. One he'll solve by holding Shift W and simply getting the hell out of there.
Might as well take the risk on that one, considering he was slowly being weaned down. Anyway, Merc nearly losing his life trying to take out a drone in the meanwhile here. In fact, the prophecy completes itself. Yeti recommits and finishes off the rest of the damage to knock Merc out. Give Mirage the opening advantage here. Start off overtime.
Yeti, by the way, we let this go unnoticed for too long, or at least I have. Yeti 14-10 right now. Complete redemption if you want to talk about redeeming yourself in that earlier matchup for him in particular. 1-9 by the end of that Dark Zero game, and now 14-10, making a very good justification for why he's placed on those entry operators, and a justification for Mirage winning. We'll look no further, or at least winning this round, I should say. Look no further than the opening pick onto Merc, and now Fultz and J90 on extremely low HP. Mirage, in that 3-round comeback that we just saw, were usually going into these attacks with a lot in their way in terms of utility and a lot in their way in terms of HP, despite the control that they seem to have. Now, they have a man advantage, uncontested, and 2 people on 1 bullets left of HP. They might be out of frag grenades, but still with ample time, and Fultz being very liberal with those smoke grenades. This freezer laundry take might just come a little bit quicker than Space Station were expecting.
As we're going to see, once again, the wind-up from Mirage being deployed out here, but at the same time, Toxic Babes to counter up both of the primary angles they are attempting to push themselves in towards. We're going to see Laundry open back up now as that Toxic Babe fades away, and there is another player trying to work backstairs here as well. We'll focus on that as J9O tries to go for the peek, but never mind. Rampy wins it instead. Another player advantage given over to Mirage is brought down to a 5v3, now 5v2 with Rampy continuing his rampage, knocking out Hot and Cold and taking even deeper control past Pillar here. Forrest trying to go for a last-ditch rotate, but Rampy again on top of every single maneuver SSG attempts to make, and it's a flawless round for Mirage to start off overtime.
2 rounds in a row now for SSG. You won 3 earlier. What's 2 in comparison? But a flawless for Mirage. That's tough to beat if you, well, just saw the round transpire. Mirage start out getting that opening pick onto Merc, and just like we saw all the way back in that first basement attack when SSG put that mirror window on second floor, they did a very solid job at dealing with that early aggression. And here, it's a similar story. Merc playing by himself. They're able to take him down and do quite a bit of damage to the defenders on SSG. Now going to the defense. You have the inclination. You have the inclination to say, oh, it's basement. Oh, then maybe they can win this. But Mirage have just won it on the attack, and SSG have shown that they are still capable on the attack as well, able to acquire that early control and also deal with the aggressive players on Mirage. Both these teams have switched up their strategies quite a bit throughout this match, and for now, we'll just have to wait and see what Mirage actually do before we can even adjudicate what SSG's potential response can or can't be.
Let's see now. Mirage can get that follow through as they as well go into the depths of the basement, doubling down on most forms of that delay utility as well here. The cap cans to trip up players going for those sub 20-second executes. Rampy, of course, with those Goyo canisters to slow things down. We are not going to see the smoke come into play for Mirage here. Let's try to utilize that as well. The repicks, though, from SSG are going to get a little spicy here, most notably for Forrest yet again. But it's important to call back the last time he picked into this one. Did not go very well. Went on pretty much a solo mission, pushing in through construction and immediately died.
He's not spawned construction, though, has he, this time? He is spawned over on the front side. They've opened up that main door, and if this is going to be quick, which it still could be, it will not come from bunker. J9O likely, if he wants to, could just apply some pressure there and catch anybody rotating. But this is going to be a front-sided push if SSG make the move in the next minute and 30. They do have to worry about maybe some control reasserted by Rampy on those back stairs if they go too one-dimensional. But Mirage seemed to have an inclination that this might be quick, as all have rotated back. All 5 defenders now in the first 45 seconds on the site. And now, in another response to Mirage, SSG might pull back for a second. They have all of this map control now, and if they're wise, which is what they're doing, they will use their X-Kairos to open up these hatches and give themselves some more options. So we are once again, as often we see on Oregon, in a bit of a waiting game.
Once again, SSG doing a whole lot of setup right now over this next 45 seconds. Once we get down to around the minute mark, we can expect them to really commit themselves to the swing wherever they decide is going to be the best path forward, as they really have all options open and available to them at this point in the round, especially with them opening up most of the hatches here. They can proceed forward with any of the 2 angles, potentially 3, that they want to try and move towards.
I think the best likely option with this blitz, unless they want to rotate bunker, would maybe be that laundry stairs if they can use some of those smokes that J9O has, but Forrest has rotated all the way over to bunker. He'll try to blitz in, no pun intended, and get that deployable shield and the player behind it gone. But because it's a 5v5, Mirage have so many of these angles and the close shotgun as well. Forrest can meet a very similar fate to how he did before. Merc still gets the opening pick, but Forrest gets nothing.
He's going to get at least 1 player down, but look at this big swing coming in from Rampy here, trying to change things up. Kansan, in the meanwhile, makes all of the impact. 1 from the EE1D and finishes off Fultz as well. Merc left alone here, needs to win it as well. Mirage on map point here, looking to close this one down. Kansan a bit low. He'll sit in the relative safety of that mirror window room that he's been able to provide for himself. Rampy is the one hunting down Merc at this point, and Merc is proceeding ever so slowly when you consider the fact that he still has 30 seconds to play this one out. More than likely has the intel on 1, if not both of the remaining players also. And unfortunately, Case no longer under his control, so cannot really use that to force his opponents out into the open. Has to try and be sneaky, work himself into one of these free kills, and then use it to bait out. Nicely done, he counters up the Nitro, has the swing for the first kill, tries to transition immediately into the second one, but he's misread the position a little bit of Rampy here. Expects him to be a bit closer to Pillar from the way he sprayed things out there, but knows he can't get the play, goes for the swing. Rampy obliges, but there's no bullets coming forward. Do they take the duel? No! It's gonna go to Merc instead! SSG SSG commits, and they'll be able to tie it back up again and send us to a full 15-round match.
The skin of their teeth for 3 15-round games in a row. If you can't do math at home, that's 45 rounds total in the past few hours. And Mirage, they could have choked it. That could have been it right there. Now both basement attacks going the way of the attack, and now SSG with 2 1vx's now that have proved pivotal in the fate of the game. Fultz stopping a potential regulation loss, and now Merc bringing it to round 15. Nothing is going the way either of these teams have planned in this round, obviously. And with SSG going to dorms, we're not seeing the same J90 Doc setup again. If we see any pressure inside of showers or any congestion inside of showers, it will not be long for SSG due to the lack of those stims. It's likely going to be a little bit more close to the site, and if there's any off-site pressure, it might be a little loose, unless it's in trophy.
Mirage as well with a few change-ups coming into things in the final round. The most notable ones so far, of course, being the Finka pick from Kansan, as they're going to use that to get a bit more aggressive, I imagine, on these executes, give their players that potential extra HP boost if they should need it. After a bit of a tough fight, trying to clear out parts of the map. Like, again, that showers push if SSG tried to contend against it. Obviously, more than likely not going to be happening too heavily for the reasons you were mentioning before. We don't have the Doc to immediately rejuvenate himself if he loses half of his HP on a peak.
Hey, you've got forced at least to shoot a couple drones early on. I mean, 2 very different things, but both very impactful if they happen at the right time. But he doesn't even have that deployable shield, so I mentioned maybe a trophy hold earlier, but with no deployable shield on the side for SSG, this is really going to be a loose hold downstairs, maybe with them falling off very quickly. An in-round adaptation by Forrest. He had 2 Gurshmots in pocket, now 1, as he just placed his second inside of Z to watch his flank and watch bottom white. Merc stationed over by back tower stairs. They've seen some drones, but still Mirage hold on to 6 of the total 10, and they're not taking this too quickly. Thought maybe with the Finka they'd blitz, try to catch SSG off guard. Not the case. Instead, they're trying to dot all their I's and cross all their T's and win just 1 Oregon attack to get the victory.
First surge does move forward, though, as the team is going to use it to clear out small tower area. It includes areas like shower and to some extent cafeteria, but you'll note he, of course, still has a small hold leading into, I believe, the kitchen itself, with 1 player maintaining positioning here. More than likely going to back up and give that away relatively soon, though. There's going to be the cap cam being played by Merc inside of this one, already positioning himself on the rotate to get himself back towards Big Tower. But even there, he may not necessarily be safe given Rampy's position. It looks like he's been drawn away, though. That path is once again open if Merc needs to get out of here.
I think they've made a good read so far. Merc does have that C4, but at least for the early round, he can be contained at the moment. You know he's here. You can open up some of these angles, get active intel on him, and then push him, because you will have to eventually. He's got that C4, and now that it's gone, that pressure down below, you don't have to worry about going for the big window white take. There are still 2 C4s, Fultz and J90, but you have to worry about them on the site. The only off-site pressure will be flanks from Forrest with that Scorpion, and if you can get a flank drone on lock, or even somebody dedicated to watching those rotations, you can make that work. First C4 goes out, and if anything, maybe this will do a favor for Mirage. They've lost Kansan, and now it's a 4v4, and DP fires on low HP, but that makes only 1 C4 left to potentially stop the execute, and Mirage still have 45 seconds left, and Forrest not doing anything to help the site hold right now.
Forrest continuing to maintain presence downstairs, however, but as you said, is going to be completely disconnected from the action. He has possibility, if he rotates correctly, to make a massive late-round contribution with a flank from white stairs or another part of the map, but like you said, is not in the correct position to deploy towards that currently. SSG, though, still holding the line, regardless of the fact that they have one of their players off-site currently. Hot and cold and Fultz striking true yet again, and bringing it down to 1, who's not long for this world either. Surf immediately knocked out, and just like their matchup earlier today, SSG come out on top, but just barely. It's a second 8-7 victory for them as they play out the full 15 rounds and technically the full 30 rounds that they had to play today.
And even though it's a loss, I think we can all agree, do not mess with this Mirage roster going into tomorrow, because sure, SSG got that 8-7 victory, but Mirage now brought them to the same scoreline as the Sonics. Might have to watch out going into tomorrow.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that does it. We still have 1 more game to go, though, so stick with us. We're going to go to a short break. When we come back, we'll have your analysis segment, breaking things down and get you ready for the final matchup of the night.